Today we're looking at Photobooks, some amazing things that you can do with your photos. There's lots of things you can do. You can make mugs, and you can make books, and you can make posters and socks and all sorts of different things. I even have a doona cover. That's actually one of my photos that's been made into a doona cover. So there's all sorts of different things you can do. And today is sponsored by the amazing people at BeConnected, beconnected.esafety.gov.au. That's beconnected.esafety.gov.au, which is the federal government's Office of eSafety education program. It's here for anyone that feels like maybe they just want to get their knowledge up in regards to the basics of technology. So beconnected.esafety.gov.au. I really recommend you check out the website, join up, because it's free and there's some amazing courses, pretty amazing stuff that we can do with photography and photo books. And I love this idea of taking our photos to the next level, because there's lots of things you need to do, but most people don't really realize that there's actually lots of bits and pieces that you also need to take care of as well when it comes to making photo books. There's a lot of preparation and planning, and how am I laying out my book, and what sort of book am I getting, and how much am I paying? So lots of little bits of information here to cover with you today. So creating photo books, prepping and planning your book. So you want to be able to prepare a book, plan it, understand what you're doing with the book, maybe do some cleanups, importing and editing your photos. So, how are you getting your photos into your device? Then how are you getting them onto a photo book? Creating books as well. Lots of different companies you can use to create your photo books. Some companies actually have their own dedicated photo book app that you have to use. Others have a website that you use. Some platforms, such as Apple's Photos, have you the option where you can actually go in and choose a different company's photo book and make it from within the app as well. So there's all these different options. I actually get my photos done, funnily enough, through my local Big W, because I do a lot of black and whites, and that's perfect for them, and I get them done in 5x7s, and that's really great. But with photo books, you may want to think about what options you want. Would you like something really beautiful, high-end paper, glossy photos, all that sort of stuff? Or are you happy with something that's just a little bit more everyday? Well, this is the thing with photo books. You've got the option and freedom to choose the type of book you may want to have. So every picture tells a story. Indeed, it does. It's interesting how we interpret things. So we're going to talk about converting a physical photo to a digital photo, organizing and understanding your photos. I will talk about the providers that are available, the pros and cons, and we'll talk about laying out as well. I'll try and also give you some demos in here today with a couple of different apps so you can see things too. So we talked recently about selfies in our Photos app, and good selfies are always selfies where you've got the camera as close as possible to head height. So essentially we're up here with our selfies, very, very nice. But if we come down here with a selfie, unfortunately that tends to add a lot of weight to the face, and that's not particularly attractive in any way, shape or form. Oh, yes, very attractive today. Yes, no, I'm not going to get a date on a Saturday night with that book, am I? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we are doing selfies, we keep that camera up. Okay, get that camera up so that way you actually take all that little bit of extra weight off your face. It's a little way to make yourself look just that little bit slimmer. So try giving yourself a good selfie, and try taking a bad selfie, and feel free to laugh at your bad selfie, because no doubt you will. Now, what's a photo book? So a photo book is a book in which photographs make a significant contribution, basically the entire thing, to the overall content. A photo book is related to and also often used as a coffee table book. Have them on the coffee table, show your friends and family. It's a nice alternative to the slide night. Okay, do you remember the torture that was the slide night? Well, a photo book allows people just to look at the photos in their own way without any, long, lengthy discussions or descriptions of what happened. That sort of thing. Also with photo books, you can also add options for maps. as well within some of the photo books as well. So yeah, lots of different things you can add to make them a little bit more interactive than perhaps the slide night, but still gotta love a slide night at some point, I suppose. Here we go. So what are photo books? Photo books evolve the digital of the photo album, essentially. So they're digitally printed collections of books. There's no physical photos stored in your books. There's no plastic inserts, no fading of your original photos, no damage to your photos as well. You know, they use common photo formats. So most of your digital format types for photos use mainly JPEG as a image for your photos, or if you're using a high resolution digital camera, you may use RAW photos, raw photos, but mostly within photo books, they're JPEGs. You can quickly reproduce your photo book. Yeah, once your photo book's been made up, it can be printed out as many times as you like. And in a lot of the photo books, you are getting high quality paper and inks. Some providers may even advertise that they use a multiple color process. Some may say, oh, we use 4 color for your books, or you can also have 6 color. When they're breaking it down into those discrete printing colors, it's meant to give you a much better depth of color range within your photos to make them look great. So let's get started. So we want to prep and plan our book. So here's the tick box, the checklist that you need to think about. Okay, so without preparing and planning your book, you're going to find that it all becomes a bit of a mishmash. For example, when we go to do a demo later, I'm going to use a number of just random photos here, and it may not feel particularly well put together. So when you're thinking about your photo book, think about what the content is going to be, first of all. So is it just the family trip away? If it's the family trip away, then how do we break that down? Do we break that down into photos by locations? So, you know, you could say, perhaps this is a photo book of a family trip before COVID, of course. So you could say, well, you know, we could have all of our Italy photos in one section. We could all of our French photos in another section. We could have our photos of the UK in another section, and then maybe, you know, each country could have a chapter, and within that chapter you could maybe have a couple of pages for each particular city that you go to, perhaps. So you may want to think of it that way. If you're making an art photo book, so maybe you're an art photographer, or your photography is definitely more artistic in nature, perhaps, maybe you want to think about theming your pages. So do you have lots of photos that are, say, industrial in nature? Group those together. Have your portraits together in a separate area. Perhaps have your sunset photos in a separate area, perhaps, as well. All sorts of ways that you could put them. You may also want to break your photos perhaps into a black and white book, where all of your photos in that book are black and whites, and you may want to then have a separate color book as well. This is the sort of thing that also works really well for people who are thinking of making a portfolio book of their different work, because you can get photography of or digital captures of your own particular work and then lay them in. And as I was saying, there are some photo books which allow you to lay text into the page along with maps and alternative layouts as well. So you can turn things from just a standard photo book into something a little bit more like either a travel book or a folio. So things to think about here. Who's going to be provider? Yeah, who is your photo book provider? Who are you using? You've got lots of different providers out there. So, you know, you've got, as I was saying, Big W has been doing photos and photo books for quite a long time. You've got all the way up until your specialist providers like Memento and Milk, who do very high-end photos. And then you've got your mid-range people like your Snapfish, who do a lot of photo work, but they're mainly a website. So different levels of quality that's available there. Now, how big is this book that you're making? Are you making a little fun, silly book? I used to have a tradition several years ago where I would find blooper photos from the family, all the sort of silly photos that, you know, went around the family that year. And I would make them into a little mini book and I'd give them to the kids so they could laugh, have something to laugh at. And then my brothers and sisters would get a photo book of all the family photos throughout the year that had appeared on Facebook and all sorts of other ways. And that way everyone had one big family photo book which marked out the year. Now, when you're thinking about the size of the book here, though, are you making it that little size, or are we talking about a larger size book? Are you thinking of 8 by 12? Are you thinking of an A4 size book? Are you thinking of an A3 size book, whether or not it's a large photo book or a smaller book? So what is your purpose here as well with your book? Because when you think about that, maybe that also allows you then to think about what size and shape of photo book that you're going to be using. And when you do that, there's also that recognition of your budget too. Because you're thinking about your product cost and the delivery time. Well, you also need to think of the fact that if you choose different photo book sizes, you'll have different prices to pay. They're not generally all a standard thing. You know, if you choose a hardcover book with special photos or bossing, or some companies even let you have sort of puffy cover books, all these different things can incur different pricing. So there's a really wide variation in there, even when it comes to the size of your book, because you've got variations within the actual make of the book itself. Number of pages. Well, you know, most photo books will come with a minimum of 20 pages standard for the price. So for example, you may get charged $30. Then that $30 book could be an 8-inch by 12-inch book in size, that's hard covered, in full color, and it comes with 20 pages already in it. Now, for some people, they think, oh, only 20 pages, that's only 20 photos. Well, often with photo books, you can lay out multiple photos on a page. So you could think about having multiple page layouts so that you're using all of that 20 pages efficiently. Often with these books, you get charged per page for extra pages that you add. So again, when you're thinking about your costs and the number of pages that you're working with, you might get charged anywhere from 25 cents up to $2 or $3 an extra page on your book. I have seen some very large photo books get up into the $1,000 and $2,000 range. Okay, yeah, we're talking about books that have been maybe 300 pages, something like that. And they've been very, very expensive indeed. This is where you need to think about, maybe, do I go a smaller size book where I can have more pages for less money and still maintain, you know, larger layouts? Yeah, so a few things to think about, isn't there? Now, what's your theme? So as I was saying earlier, is it an art book? Is it a family photo book? Is it a folio? Well, the themes that you use with a lot of the different software that's out there, they might sometimes have pre-made themes that you can use, so little templates essentially, that you can use to come along and have the layout set up already. The background colors are often set, the layouts are all ready to go, and even some software can automatically lay your photos into the book itself and the most optimal way. Sometimes that works out really well when the software does it for you, sometimes not so good. So you always want to have the option to be able to come along and manually move your photos around and change layouts. Yeah, so what is that theme? Yeah, interesting. You know, is it a desert holiday theme? Well, you may want to choose shades of orange and beige and light browns, which, you know, remind you of desert colors, perhaps. Yeah, interesting things you could do. One of the things you also need to think about is if you're working with older photos, particularly with slides, you will need to make sure that they've been cleaned and then properly scanned. So if you do have original photos, and a lot of people have photos that are under glass or within an actual old photo book itself, in order to be able to scan those, you'll need an app such as Google Photo Scan. Google Photo Scan on your phone. If you've got a really great camera in your phone, this will make really great scans of your photos. Google Photo Scan's an app you can download from the App Store. It's also available on the Google Play Store as well. It may just come up in the name of Photo Scan. What it does is uses your camera to take 4 photos of your particular item that you're wanting to scan. It then stitches them together as a single photo and removes any glare from the glass that may be covering the image if it's in a frame, or the plastic that may be covering it if it's in an old-time photo book. So with your photos, if you are actually needing to scan old photos, be really careful. You want to clean up as much of your photography as possible with your physical photos, and then get them scanned. How are we saving our files in the book once we've scanned them? Well, we need to save them into the computer or save them onto a hard drive somewhere, and we need to organize them as well so we don't lose them. So yeah, the organization is important, creating files and folders for your photos. Then we're thinking about layout and design. So this is the, coming to the end of the process. We've got all of our photos ready to go. Now we need to work out what that layout side of things is. We've chosen our theme. Now within that theme, we need to lay our photos onto the page and work out how we're designing that book. Some people like to have 3 photos on one page, 1 full page photo facing that, and then a full double page spread, and then again repeating or mirroring whatever you had. And then, as I was saying, lastly, that product cost and delivery time. How much am I paying overall? How much am I paying for a single book? Do I get discounts for multiple books? And how much am I paying in the end? And how long will it take for it to get to me? Now, of course, considering we're thinking about the constraints that are currently occurring within delivery networks anyway, it takes around 2 weeks for most photo books to be processed. Usually it's a case of the book being sent to the process lab, for the book then to be created and printed, and then bound, and then sent back to you. So roughly around 2 weeks-ish. Problem here is that the more sophisticated your book is, the more likely it is that it will take longer to print up, which is, something only to be expected. But with delivery times, instead of making it 2 weeks, it could be 3, 4, 5 weeks before you get the book. So I would highly recommend that if you're looking to make a photo book for Christmas this year for someone as a Christmas gift, make sure that you've got that book done no later than mid-November. Okay, or even the start of November, because to be honest with you, it's very likely that postage times could slow down significantly over the silly season this year. So definitely want to get in there early if you can. So let's talk about prep our photos. So who wants to use, so you want to use your physical photos or slides in a photo book, okay? And that's great. We've all got lots of physical photos hanging around. We may still have physical prints. We may even have the original negatives. And if you've got the negatives, you can use those in a negative or a slide scanner. And the beautiful thing about that is if you've got nice and clean negatives, you're going back to the original photo, which means you can digitally process it within the computer if you're clever enough. If you scan your negatives, negatives always come out the negative. In a computer, you can actually turn them back into positives and then actually digitally process the photo without actually having to worry about cleaning up a print. So yeah, if you've got some negatives, go scan those fellas. So when you're looking to do some prep, what do you need to think about? So with your photos, clean your photos from the center to the edges with a soft cloth, okay? No sprays, no liquids, nothing like that. We're looking purely to try and pick up the dust here and to do it slowly. No hard rubbing or scrubbing or anything like that. We are being quite light. I know some people who even use a fan or a light blower to remove dust as well. So that's another way you could think about it. So no chemical cleaners or anything like on that. Okay, yeah, definitely. And not on your slides themselves, because it actually could ruin the slides and negatives. That's a big no-no. You would actually want to have a chat with, if you're curious and you want to think, know how you can actually get that right, there's professional companies that can do this for you, and there's lots of information on YouTube and online about how to clean up your negatives as well and your slides. So lots of little great little instructional videos you can look up that'll help you, do this yourself if you do want to go down and clean your things, your own photos. So if you are going to clean your scanner, you need to clean the scanner glass with a non-streaking cleaner, and you can't use that scanner until that glass is dry. Now, when I'm talking about a non-streaking cleaner, we want to make sure that when you do have something on the glass, that there's no patches or anything like that that might come through when you're using the scanner. If you're using a desktop printer, multifunction printer, these guys can do scans at 300 to 600 dots per inch. So they're good little machines for that. And usually with the flatbed that's on these multifunction printers, you can lay 3 or 4 photos on the glass at once, and that way you can scan multiple photos. When you do that though, you have to tell the software that you're using that you are scanning multiple images, not just one photo, because if you do it as one photo, you're going to have to come along later and try and digitally cut them out, and that's a bit of a pain. Now, if you're going to use slides or negatives, try and use a slide scanner, and you can scan up to 9600 dots per inch, which means you actually get a large file. And you actually need that, funnily enough, with slides, because the original image is so tiny. Negatives and slides, tiny images, they need lots and lots of dots to get lots and lots of beautiful photo information. So that means lots and lots of resolution there, okay? Now, when you're doing your scanning, one thing to think about is as you save them, make a folder for your photos. So you might have Italy scans, bang, fantastic. Or it might be Italy photos, doesn't matter. Create a folder, put them in there. Now, what you want to do is think about the following. Are they different days? If they're different days, create a folder within your folder and have a set of folders for each day. So that way you can file them away properly and understand what photo is what day relates to that photo, that sort of thing. It's a good organizational option and helps you just keep them nice and organized. Have a look at these two people. So first of all, we've got our desktop scanner. Okay, multifunction printer. You can buy these at Officeworks, at so many different places around, JB Hi-Fi, you name them, you can buy them. There's multiple versions of these types of desktop multifunction machines. So you need to think about the following. The cheaper the machine, the less likely it is that you're going to get very good scans out of it. Okay, you'll get a decent scan, but if you're looking to do photography, you may want to think about either a higher quality machine of one of these, or getting a dedicated photo scanning bed. But most of these guys can do pretty good scans. And once you've got a machine that's around $300–400, the scanning options on them are pretty good. So you would scan your photos in JPEG with a resolution of 300 to 600 dots per inch. And if it talks about color, you can use true colors or millions of colors. So when we're talking about 300 to 600 dots per inch, most text on paper is printed at 150 dots per inch. Most photography goes up to about 300, and if you're scanning at 600, that gives you a bit of room to have the option to scale up or down your photos. So I like to go that little bit higher on the resolution, just because it gives me crisper photography. So when I do lay them into the book, I can actually come along and have a lovely big double page spread of a photo that's been in the scanner. Okay. Now, my preference would be to actually scan the negatives. Clean up the negatives and scan the negatives, and that way you can digitally make them positive and do a lot more work on them as well from the scan. Again, you can scan them in JPEGs, and some slide scanners will let you scan in the RAW format, which is what is used in higher quality cameras. Resolutions there, 1200 to 9600 dots per inch. Again, because we are scanning something which is essentially the size of a postage stamp. So when we're trying to get as much information out of something that small, we need a very high resolution, as many little dots that we can cram into that space at once. Thank you. So, Google Photo Scan. I love this little app. I just think it's an amazing little app. So it uses your smartphone camera to scan your photos. I'm going to see if I've actually got something I can scan here for you. So yeah, it takes 4 images which are then combined and the glare is removed. It's great for when a scanner isn't available and the photos are stuck in a photo book or in a frame. You've only got one photo that can be scanned at a time, so you'll need to download it from the App Store or the Play Store. Now I've actually got a canvas that we can practice on this one. So we're going to do a little demo here. Right, so I have in front of me a photo which is, on a canvas. Now, this was originally a digital photo, but I might not have the original file anymore. So I may choose to want to come along and scan this particular canvas. So I'm going to switch to my phone and we'll scan that for you. And we'll show you that. Bear with me. Thanks everyone. We're just coming back into photo scan right now. So you can see that I've got my little photo here. And what I'm wanting to do is I'm just going to pull back here and we can see if I stand up, I've got the photo in the frame and I want to take a scan of this. So I'm going to tap the white button at the top. There we go, and now it can see that there are circles there. Right, now it's gotten 4 photos together, and there we go, and it's now taken a scan. Fantastic. Now you'll have to forgive my feet being in there, but yes, definitely, it's pretty amazing. So it's pretty amazing, this little app. There we go. There's a scan there straight away. Now that I've actually got that photo, of course, I can come along now and edit that photo and play with it if I like. Looks pretty good for a scan, doesn't it? I mean, it's just absolutely incredible what you can see. So there you go, photo scan by Google. Pretty amazing. I mean, yeah, it always makes my jaw drop every time I use PhotoScan. So PhotoScan by Google is the app there. Yeah, I just think it's a really great way to get your photos into your computer. It's a really simple way to do it. It does, feel a little bit weird at first when you're hovering over the dots, but once you've actually got that taken care of, no problem, I'm always a big fan of this. So Bear with me a second. Let's make sure that you can hear me and see me again. Okay, so yeah, Google Photoscan. I really heartily recommend that you give that one a try if you're looking to scan some photos, because yeah, great little option there. Let's move on, shall we? So we've done a little Google Photoscan now. So just to recap, when you got Photoscan, you're going to be standing above your photo. You'll be holding your camera pointing down at the photo. When you tap the white shutter button on your screen, 4 white circles will appear. You'll move your camera over each of the 4 circles until it fills in. You'll get a circle that will fill in around each one. Hover your camera over each, and then once you've done that, it combines those 4 into that one scan. You can also edit the edges off it and then, of course, add it into your photos, your camera roll, whatever you like. One thing with this as well, though, is when you are doing that, try and keep your camera level. Try and avoid this, you know, moving around and all that sort of stuff. If you can just keep that level on the horizontal axis and just then move over that way, you'll get a much better scan first time, but it does allow for that difference. Yeah, it's pretty amazing little app. So Photoscan by Google. There we go. Now, retouching. Okay, now retouching here. Now, I just want to check that I've got her. Right. We've got a great little image here that we're going to talk about retouching. No, and I'm just trying to find the original image in my system for you. Oh, that's right. I've remembered what I called the image. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually play with an image here and enhance the image. So what you can see is when you're working with any photos, you may want to come along and do some photo retouching. And in order to do that, you may need to edit the photo and actually remove any sort of changes that you may have made to the photo previously. Now, we here have got dots. We've got this poor girl who has a face with the Southern Cross, essentially in the shape of pimples in it. So what we want to do is we want to be able to come along and make those pimples disappear, essentially. So let's go into a Photos app. Now, I've just opened up on my Photos app this particular image, and we're going to edit it and retouch it. So we can come along and fix its color and remove these blemishes from this young lady's face. So let's go to the Photos app, because before we make a photo book, we want to make sure our photos look their best. So into the Photos app, here we go. So here's the Photos app right now, and here is this image with this girl here. There we go. We've got a bit of an issue. So what I want to do is I'm going to come in and click the Edit button in the top right corner of the screen. Now, with many photo apps, you get lots and lots of different tools that you can work with to play with. So I'm going to come down and I'm looking for the Retouch tool, which I can see down the bottom here. And I've got a slider that I can use for my Retouch tool to make my Retouch tool bigger or smaller. But I'm going to come down and I'm going to drag it so that it's the smallest size. When you're doing retouches, you can stay at this level, but I actually recommend you should try and zoom in as deep to the photo as you can. Try to zoom in as much as you can, because the less that you're retouching, the more natural the photo will look. So we're going to do the retouch. There we go. And I'm just dragging around the center. There we go. And away we go. Now that's taken them all, unfortunately, at once. I did actually have several retouches there. Again, we can retouch. You can see if I do the bottom one, there we go. And that gets rid of it. I can do this particular one down here. Let's again retouch out this one. Let's do this one here. Let's also just take out the top one. There we go. So now she's lost a lot of the blemishes. Do I get rid of some hair up the top there? There we go. So we've got rid of a bit of some hair, any hair around the brow line to touch up, anything through there to pick up. There we go. So just picking up little blemishes, all that sort of stuff. There's nothing on her ears or anything. So now that we've actually got a retouch done, the next part of things is to maybe come along and improve the color of the image as well. So what I do is I like to come over to my magic wand at the top. That's got an automatic adjustment, and I give that a click. And what it does, it picks out the skin colors and darkens down your skin colors. Yeah, so the beautiful thing about that is now that she looks a lot more natural and she's lost the unfortunate blemishes on her face, which is pretty amazing. So again, that's a little bit on retouching, because what you can do is just make sure that people in your photos look really good, and the photos themselves, you know, really shine before you put them in your photo book. Let's come back to our presentation. Now, when we're talking about professional retouching, one of the things people need to think about is whether or not they actually pay. When you've got photos that are damaged or very badly faded, I actually think it's probably a good idea to get a professional in to do this for you. You can see from the image below that there's been a retouch done on this one. And the retouch is focused on the subject of the photo and not the background of the photo. Now, the reason for that is that you can see there's some very significant damage to the background of the image, which would take quite some time to fix. Also, this is a fairly rudimentary fix in that the bottom left-hand corner of the image is torn away. And when you see the retouch, you can't quite make out the fabric on the jacket. So they've done a lot of airbrushing on this one. And there's a lot of retouch tool going in there, but there's also a lot of painting out as well. And this is the thing with photo retouching. Sometimes you can pay per job or per hour. If you want to get this sort of thing done professionally, go looking in the yellow pages or Google for photographic services or photographic retouching, and you'll find some professionals. But yeah, this can be expensive if you want really, really beautiful photos. So you may want to think about a compromise where the retouch focuses on primarily the subject of the image and the background is maybe left or just neutralized as it's made gray here. But yeah, if you've got those very old images, yes, they can be saved, okay? And you know, once there's a digital scan of them, they can be taken into a number of different photo apps or graphics apps where the photo can be retouched and you know, brought back to life. A lot of this is actually painting. What they're doing is they're picking up colors from the original image or tones from the original image and applying that to the photo. Yeah, so there is professional work out there. Now, when you're organizing your photos, you need to put them in a folder to stay organized. So you may want to create a photo book folder on your computer. And when you do that, that allows you to, you know, have an area ready for them to go into. So, for example, I could create a folder on my computer and move photos in there, perhaps. So, one of the things you need to think about if you're on a Windows machine, you go to the File Explorer on the bottom of your computer there, click and that's a yellow folder with a blue little cover on it, and you click that, and then you'll go to say documents or your pictures folder, and then go to the top of the screen and click on new folder, which will be a yellow icon, and that'll allow you to have a folder and you can drag your photos into that folder. And remember, you would name photos for the ones you want. So let's see if we can actually give you a little demo of that on the Mac. Okay, and I just want to make sure everything in here is fine. Yep, okay. So let's show you the Mac, and I'll do it in here just as a rough idea for you so you can get a better idea of what you might want to do. So here I am on my Mac Windows screen, my Finder. I'm going to go and create a new folder here. So I'm coming up and I'm choosing new folder. And then I'm going to call this DSLR Photography. Great, I hit my Enter key to create the folder. I come up to D's on my screen here. There we go, DSLR Photography. I give it a double click. Here's I'm inside that folder now, and then I may want to create a folder within the folder. So I can come to new folder or the action button again, new folder, and I might call this industrial. Then I might do another folder where I might call that natural. And then I might have another folder which could be called flowers. And then another folder called people. So now I've got 4 sets of folders, because for me, I could be doing everything by theme. However, I could also go new folder and call and say maybe 15 April 2019, Paris. Bang. Date, location. Thinking about when you're naming your folders, because having a naming convention, as we call it, or a system, really allows you to have some consistency. So I've got 2 options here. I've created myself folders for themes, or I could actually just break it down into dates and locations, and then drag a picture in from the pictures back into I think I'll put it in the documents folder. There we go, DSLR Photography. And then this one it's a crystal, so it's going to go into nature. There we go. So thinking about your photos, think about that organization, so that way when you do make your photo book, you can drag the photos in what you want, or upload the photos you want in the right order as well, which is pretty important. Now, I've been using the Photos app on my Apple Mac today. However, there's lots of different Photos apps that you can use, which will allow you to play with your photos. And one of them, if you're looking for a sort of an app which reminds you of Photoshop, if you're a little bit that technically minded, you may want to use GIMP. I've also got Pixelmator and Photomator and all sorts of other different apps as well. There's quite a few different photo apps out there. What I would recommend is maybe having a Google search or looking on the App Store for your particular device for the words photo retouch or photo cleaning or just photo organization or photo album. All sorts of different things you can look up there. Now, who makes photo books? So now Apple used to make photo books. They now actually have the function for making photo books within Apple Photos app, but third-party companies now actually look at that, and they do that for Apple. So there's a number of third-party companies that do that. Snapfish is one that does photography, and they do photo books. You would have heard of Snapfish in all likelihood. Memento, Milk, Officeworks, Big W, Kmart. There's quite a few different companies that actually do photo books these days. And I'll bring up some websites for you to have a little look. So Snapfish. Now, Kmart Photos, is funnily enough, is actually the same as Snapfish. So that's one of those ones where if you're using Kmart, you're sort of using Snapfish by default. So, for example, if we come over and have a look at one of these providers here. There we go. So first of all, we've got the Snapfish website up. So as usual, Snapfish do more sales than a rug salesman. They really do. Everything's on sale all the time. So they're doing 75% off your photo books. And you can see that they've got a number of different types of ways to get your photos in, from the computer, your Google Photos, your Facebook, or even your Instagram. photography as well. Lots of different options for making books. Their home decor, photo prints, photo books, canvas prints, custom clothes, you know, all sorts of different things that you can do, even for, you know, doing the new photo tiles as well. So, you know, lots of different things that they do there, a wide range of products. If we go to Memento, memento.com.au, here's another photo provider, Memento. They do lots of different photo books. They also do stationery as well. So they do quite a few different things. And yeah, Memento really are on the higher end. Okay, Snapfish is in the middle, Big W down the bottom, Mementos up on that higher end with Milk, much higher quality sort of books and so on. So we do have some further info here on that. And yeah, sometimes it's important to organize them as we scan them and as we go along. Sometimes we can make boo-boos, so I can totally understand that. So we're going to have a little bit of a provider comparison. It's not an exhaustive list, and we're not in any way commercially endorsing any of these providers. These are just purely for your own perusal and understanding. So Kmart, Officeworks, Big W, Snapfish, Photobooks Australia, Vistaprint, Memento, and Apple Photos. So you've got basically a lot of your books, you know, from most of them start from $12 to $80 with Kmart. There's a wide variety there, but you may need a Snapfish account, and it's basically Snapfish anyway. Officeworks, they do have some really cheap, inexpensive options, and they do have a wide variety of options. But you don't really get your pricing until you go into the templates. And they had an older version of the website, which actually made it really hard to make photo books. Have a look at them again, but yeah, they wasn't particularly fun. Big W, and surprisingly really good value and surprisingly good quality. So $10 for a 6-inch by 8-inch 22-page book. So really, really simple in terms of the soft cover covers, but they, again, a wide variety there. You will need to use your web browser in order to do photos with Big W Photos. I've actually got that open on my another screen at the moment. I can show you that shortly. Snapfish we've just had a look at, so, you know, wide variety there. Their website can be a little bit painful, to be honest with you. I've had all sorts of people who've had problems with the Snapfish website getting photos to upload to it and be in their account. So yeah, it'd be very strange. So I'm sure they would have fixed that. Photobooks Australia, Vistaprint, again, a variety here. So have a look at the cons. You know, for example, with Photobooks Australia, they used to say that you had to have 40 pages in your book. Now, for some people, 40-page minimum might not be a bad thing. For other people, 40 pages might be a case of, hold on, I only want to do 20 pages. So again, thinking about those minimums. Again, some of the providers have their own layout apps within their website that you use. Others will require you to download an app. You know, Memento, you know, their minimum book price is $50. Yeah, $50, which is a lot. But they are professional looking, and they are sort of some of the cream of the crop. And of course, Apple's photos now use a mixture of different providers as well, as Apple no longer print their own books internally. So have a look at Memento, Officeworks, Kmart, and so on, because there's a few really good ones. Gee, I need to update this particular slide. But yeah, there are actually a number of providers. Officeworks actually does a great job as well. Let's actually go and have a look at Big W Photos. So we'll give you another idea here on your photos. There we go. So here's Big W Photos, the Big W Photos website. Now, at the moment, I already have a number of photos already stored within there. So once you join Big W Photos, you can go to the My Photos tab, and you can upload photos into their particular system. So I could go upload more photos. I could choose from the computer if I wanted to, and then I could choose to add to an existing album or not. So yeah, and I can take them from the computer. I've already got 143 photos in here, so a mixture of some of these, which is great. So what I might want to do then is go, right, I need to shop for something. So I'm going to shop, and I want to do photo books. And now that I do a photo book, I can have a look at the type of photo books I want. There we go, a 6x8 in a hardcover, or an 8x11 in the hardcover. Ooh, we'll go the 8x11 in the hardcover. That's on sale at the moment, so why the heck not? Right, it's got full color cover images I can use there as well. And if I click on order now, it'll let me get started into the book process. The dimensions 28 centimeters by 20 centimeters. It's a hardcover, minimum pages 20, maximum 120, and every page after the 20th page is going to cost me $1.20. So if I go order now, it then says, right, where are your photos coming from? And I can click on my albums from the left-hand side. And then there we go. I can click on this particular album and now start clicking on photos that I want to add into the book. So all I need to do is just click the photos I'd like to add. Now I'll make this a black and white book instead of a color book, just because I'd like to. So I'm going to choose lots of black and white images here. Now for the time being, I'll see a few more. Let's just see how many we can get to squeeze into our 20 pages. So quite a few different pieces. I really do love the statues around the shrine. So they're interesting. So again, lots of photos here, lots of black and whites. Great, this is pretty good. Lots of good little photos. Okay, I think we've got plenty. Okay, fantastic. And I can, there we go. Now that I've got those, and I've got those selected, what I should now be able to do is be able to come down to the bottom of the screen and click Add 47 Photos to Project. So it comes along. And then it says how many photos per page. So yeah, it's giving me options here. Average 2 or 3 photos per page. I want to make it say 40 pages. So maybe a 40-page book, okay? Now that I do that, I come along and there we go. It's my minimum number of pages. I go next. And then I might actually just do layout and autofill. Instead of actually doing the manually, why not be lazy and let's see what the computer gives us. So I'm going to do layout and autofill for this option and let the computer do it. Otherwise, I'd use I will manually place my photos into layout. Here we go. And so now it's automatically laying photos in for me. Some interesting choices here, and it's given me page spreads. So I can see the first page, and then I can now back out and see the next double page. It's interesting. It's an interesting set of choices that it's made there for how it's laying out photos. It's definitely not what I would do. I'm already finding that there are some photos that it's not doing what I want it to do. Yeah, so what I then do is I can come up to the top of the screen and click on all pages. When I do that, that should actually generate, here we go, a thumbnail of what the entire book looks like. And yeah, so maybe I would not want to use the auto layout, okay? Because clearly what we've got here is something that I'm not happy with. I would probably restart that and lay the photos out manually. For example, here on this page, this photo here is actually the subject is what we wanted there. So, that should be a different type of photo. Now, the nice thing is I don't have to be a prissy petal. I can come along and choose the option for page options up here, and I can delete spreads, I can add pages, and I can do some playing around with things as well. I can choose to unlock the image and maybe make it larger or smaller, and play with other options there too. So that's a little on the big W ones, if I'm using the standard sort of auto fill layout option. But you can see that when I go back to all pages, it's tried to work its way out, but I don't think it's really that great an option. But still, you know, if it works for your photos, why not? And you'll find a lot of the photo apps do actually offer this option too, to do this. Now, of course, I can change the backgrounds and photos and things, and I can even look at layouts and come along and change that. There, look, there's a front cover there. So it's given us a front and back cover where it's tried to make a cover that's interesting. Here, and if I click on the page, I might be able to alter it. Alternatively, what we could do is create a new book and you know, do a manual layout, which I think is what we might do. So I'm going to go back a couple of pages and remove that. There we go. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go, I'll manually place my photos into the layout and see what it chooses for a layout. Right, let's go to all pages. Okay, so here is our front cover, inside cover, and the pages now where it's got little photos for each layout. So what I could do is I could click on page 1 and then drag a photo into place on page 1. There we go. So it starts off with that particular photo. Great. And I can now move to page 2. Page 2 has got a 2-photo spread. So I could possibly drag that photo in there and maybe have a look for another photo which would fit. So as I scroll down through my photos, I can pick up different ones. There we go. And then of course I can drag that photo down a little bit more. So we've got that photo there. And then I could also have a look at in the top right corner and have a look at things like page options. So deleting the spread, what have I got? Zooming in and out, rotating the photo. What have we got there? Icons as well. And coming back to the menu. So again, I've got 2 pages. Maybe I want to do my own layouts. Well, I could add a page as well. I could autofill like it just did as well for other photos, and then I can drag down. There we go, dragging a photo into place. So that's one option. That's doing it through Big W Photos. Okay, now that's, you know, one option for it. Another option is doing it within the Photos app that you're already using. So for example, if I come back over to my Photos app that I've got, I have a folder down the left-hand side called DSLR Landscapes, and I'm thinking of making that into a photo book. So what I do is I come over, and I'm going to go back into this folder now. Here we are, DSLR Landscapes. Now I can come along here and decide to choose to, at the top, I want to create something. I want to create a new project perhaps, which is what I'm wanting to do. So I'll go to projects, okay. And hit the plus button and come down and do a book. And now that I've got the book options, I can choose from Mimeo Photos, Milk Photos, Milk Books, or Presto. I'm going to choose Milk just for something different. Now I get all these different types of books. So a luxe softcover book. So these are a little bit more expensive. You know, lots of different types of books. Ooh, $111 for that one. Whew. Some big ones. Plush album, look at that. Oh, Milano leather covers, 6-color printing. Oh, in other words, very, very special. So lots of different books that we can choose here to choose. Let's just go back to the classic photo book, shall we? We'll go next. I'll make it a medium landscape book. There, and I'll create that. Create the project. There we go. And now what I can do is I can come along and choose, first of all, the sort of background I want to have. I'm going to have a black background. Do I want to do fabric or paper? I can change my cover types as well, so I can have text underneath it or a box. Now, at the moment, it's automatically auto-filled the project. There we go. So I can change those. I might want to, have a different photo perhaps in there. There we go. Click the word create. It gives me an offer to do 20% off. Here we go. So now here are the photos. Here are the book. It's got some layouts, and I can go in and change the layouts. And I'm going to choose a photo for the cover and drag that in there. Then I've got a page 1 here is coming up as a full page, which I quite like. I'll double click it to see the page. I can see the different layouts down the right hand side of the page here. So I can choose different layout types if I like. I can even have standard type layouts and go a little bit further with that if I want. I might actually change that to a full bleed photo. And when I go to the full bleed photo, I may then come across the bottom here into the photo album, and just for fun, choose something a little different. There we go. Actually, there we are. Earth photo. So just dragging your photos in essentially. Once you've created your photo book, you'd be clicking on the buy button on the top right corner of the screen. And you can play around with these. So, I'm doing this within the Photos app on my Mac, and it's using Milk. I also did it on the Big W photos as well. And once you add both of those items to the cart, all that happens is those systems come along and calculate how much you're going to pay, set up the printing options, and away you go. Yeah, some pretty interesting things though. So I think you've got me started on a photo book for me to make for myself that I may want to do. So yeah, doing that in Apple Photos. And then of course I can come along and change the pages, go forward or backwards through the book and change it around if I like. So then I can come into our next page. It's got a double photo spread here on this one. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want something different. Choose that photo spread, slide through my photos down the bottom. What have I got? Okay, let's use the beach at Margaret River. Let's use the water on the Swan. Let's use the beach at Two Rocks. So now we've got a water theme page, for example. So yeah, working your way through your photos, it's amazing what you can do. You can either lay it out live like I'm doing, or as I was doing earlier, think about your prepping and planning your photos so you can drag your photos in from elsewhere on the computer if you need to, or if you've got them in a photo app already. Okay. Yes, you can add text to pages, by the way, just depending on the layout that you're using. So with the different layouts that are available, you can add text to the pages. So for example, if I come back into the Photos app again, just quickly, I can see there's some different layouts there. And there we are. I've got a text button down the bottom, and I've got joyous days outside on the river and at Two Rocks. There we go. And then once I'm happy with that, I should then be able to add that into the page. There we go, click outside, and now we've got some text. So yes, there are options for adding text, and some layouts in some books even give you options for adding maps. You can see there's lots of circle layouts and things here as well. So yeah, quite a wide variety that you can play with a lot of these particular apps. Whew. So yeah, there's just lots of different options. And of course, once you've made the book, it'll ask you to save the book, and then you go into the purchasing option. So we've just done a bit of demoing, but here's a little recommend. Now here's a version of what the photos I've used to look like. There's the photos there from my landscapes album. I've gone to create a new photo album, and this is one of the older ways to do it, but it's still pretty relevant. So you can make a photo book, name that photo book, choose the type of photo book you wanted to use, choose that theme. So, you know, again, you've got lots of different themes you can choose. Use the autofill option if you like to autofill your photos, or you can manually add your photos into the book as well. So if you've completed your book, you want to buy your book. Now, usually your book is uploaded to the publisher. Now, this is something to remember when you're working with photo books. If your photo has to be uploaded to the publisher, it is going to take a little while for it to transfer the photos through the internet. So you're just going to have to let the app sit. Some other types of publishers allow you to upload your photos as you go. So just be aware there could be a bit of a lag on the upload times. Also, when you're expecting delivery, as we're saying here, expect delivery within 2 to 6 weeks, just depending on the type of book you're making, the size of book, the quality of the book, if there's extra finishing, if there needs to be a presentation box, because some books you get a presentation box with as well. So yeah, the more extras there are, the longer it will take for the book to get done. And of course, if you've got any queries or questions, get in touch with the provider. And so that's really all we've got there for you in regards to the photo book. So once you've got them, you generally get them in the mail, or you can pick them up from wherever you would have ordered them from. So yeah, just lots and lots to think about. So let's just recap a couple of little things here. I think it's really important to, let's come back to our little think list at the start, because I think that's the most important thing for you to remember, is just to revise and think about your think list, as it takes you through everything else here. So who's going to be your photo book provider? You may want to think about that last. You definitely want to think about the size of the book and the number of the pages you're making. What theme is the book? Is it going to be a folio book? Is it a family book? Is it a holiday book? You know, what sort of book are you making? Are you making a book that's mixed themes as well? Make sure that if you're working with physical photos, that those photos have been cleaned and they've been scanned. As well, if you're organizing your photos into folders, organize them nice and neatly, so that way you can easily work out what they are. Use file names that have good descriptions, so a date and a location and maybe what was happening within the photo perhaps. You know, that sort of stuff, so you can find those photos easily and drag them, drop them into your book. Think about, you know, how much money you want to spend on your book as well. Do you have a particular budget? Think about that particular budget. And then finally, what sort of layout you're going to use, and who are you going to take on as your provider? You know, have a look at those all sorts of things, get all that prep done, and have a good time laying out your photos, and you know, just think about what you want to do in regards to that. So that's a good big overview there of photo books.